Gujarat in India, and today we're celebrating India's Independence Day. So thank you very much for joining us. Hi Virat, and we also have Rakhi Mayuri from the First Secretary of the Embassy of India in Tel Aviv. So I'd like to welcome you. Just say hello and we'll begin.
Viratji first.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm looking forward to all of you on this meeting to see the Sabarmati Ashram virtually. Welcome. Rakhi, you may.
Happy Independence Day, everyone. This collaboration is very, very productive and very close to our hearts. I am glad we could organize a tour on the Independence Day as part of the Independence Day celebrations of India at 75. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you again. We're about to start. So the question is, what is the connection? What is the connection between David Ben-Gurion and Mahatma Gandhi? So that's one of the things we're going to bring up today. The emphasis will be on Sabarmati Ashram. We'll be having an in-depth view of the tour there. So I'm just going to go inside the desert home here in Sde-Boker. I'd like to say hello to Miri Palmach, our former director, who was very instrumental.
Good luck.
And we would like to welcome all our Indian visitors, but also our Israeli visitors. Unfortunately, we can travel, but not completely. If everybody could mute themselves. So here I am in the desert home in Sde-Boker. David Ben-Gurion, the first Prime Minister and the founder of the State of Israel, came here initially in 1953 with his wife, Paula. I'm just giving you a brief view because the emphasis is going to be on India. We are commemorating the Independence Day, and there are a lot of similarities between India and Israel. Both fought the British and both received independence. And I'm now here in the bedroom of David Ben-Gurion. Let me just check. I just wanted to check someone. Here we are in the bedroom. And as you can see, it's a very simple bedroom, a very simple bed, a lot of books. He has a lot of books next to his bed. And the reason why we connected just over a year ago and have had a lot of cooperation with the Embassy of India and with Sabarmati Ashram is this one photograph. And the one picture in the whole of the desert home, the only picture that we have is of Mahatma Gandhi, who Ben-Gurion actually never met, but he writes here in his bedroom, and it's the only picture here, the moral strength of the East is perhaps embodied most of all in the great Indian leader, Mahatma Gandhi, the outstanding man who is heading for the war for independence. And the weapon of this commander is non-violence. So we have a great admiration for the leader of modern and free India. As I said, the two leaders never met, but there was an admiration here. And this is how we connected. And this is how we connected to Sabarmati Ashram. We've already had 3 virtual tours together with students from schools in India and Israel. And this is the first time that we've opened it to the public. So we'd like to say thank you to all those involved. Thank you to Virat and Atul Panya in Sabarmati Ashram, and to Rakhi. So I'm turning over to you, and from time to time, I will perhaps add something of ours. And I look forward to visiting India. As I said, people are traveling less here this summer, but here we have the opportunity to visit India for this short period of time and get a taste of what is there and learn a bit about the leader Mahatma Gandhi. So thank you, thank you, Virat, and over to you.
Thank you, Esther. I mean, I really appreciate your efforts, and yeah, as Esther mentioned, we already have 3 virtual tours, and this is the virtual tour which is open for the public. This is an Independence Day today, and it is a special moment for us. And I think we may start here. We are going to, show the entire ashram. Using video, and of course, in some cases where internet is not available, we'll use virtual walkthrough. So this is Pratima Ben, and behind her is the Sabarmati Ashram here. She will introduce herself, and then we'll start talking on. Yeah, Pratima Ben, you may start.
Yeah. Namaste and welcome to the virtual tour. Myself Pratima Behan, and I am communicator in Hriday Kunj, Gandhi Ashram. Today is a very special day, 15th August. So on 1947, we got independence. It was a great day, and so many soldiers and martyrs and great leaders, they sacrificed their whole life to save our country, to free our country. And Mahatma Gandhi, the way we got independence is non-violence, and the thought of Mahatma Gandhi, by the way of non-violence, we got independence. And this is our 75th platinum year of independence. So I'm very glad to show you Gandhi Ashram. It's a very special place and very special day. So we will start our virtual tour. So
thank you. Thank you, Pratima Ben. And yeah, we may probably start. So basically, this is the same place where Gandhiji lived for around 13 years. And most of the movement that Mahatma Gandhi has started were started from this place itself. So basically, the campus is large enough. You can see that. And basically, there are various heritage places. This place is around 103 years old now. 100 years were completed in the year 2017. And there are various places, but the most important place is the Hriday Kunj, where Gandhiji spent almost 30 years. And most of the movement, as I mentioned, was started from here. And probably we can go inside the Hriday Kunj to explore it more. So, Mehul, we can go inside. We can move further.
Okay.
So I can see, Virat, that there are a lot of visitors today. How do people celebrate Independence Day in India? What do they usually do?
Very true. So basically, Independence Day is a very special day for Indians, and we normally get lots of visitors today. So and this flow of the visitor will be for the entire day, starting from 7 o'clock in the morning. And you can already see there are various visitors already here visiting the ashram. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is the place that we are standing right now. Is a place where Gandhiji stayed. And yeah, and you can see, the floor and the roof, these are the very original. So we haven't changed anything. And the special joinery in the roof, you can see the wood part is something which, Gandhiji forwarded from, Gandhiji carried from the South Africa. Gandhiji spent many years in South Africa. And when he left South Africa, there are various habits that he carried from the South Africa. So this is one of the things that he carried from there. This is a special type of wood joinery which is not normally available in India, but this type of joinery is very common in South Africa. So many architecture students from all around the world normally come here to study this type of architecture. Now we can really see the Gandhiji's room on the back part. Yeah, so there is a door you can see. There is a door you can see on the left, which is Gandhiji's room, and the just right side there is a huge board here. Basically, Gandhiji was working here, and many people worked with him in the Sabarmati ashram. But Gandhiji has defined few rules, which normally people has to follow that. And I would like to show you something. For example, these rules are, these rules are, there are about 12 rules which normally people has to follow when they want to live in the Sabarmati ashram. And Gandhiji himself wrote this rule. So let me show you something very detailed. It is here. You can see probably in the screen. That is very clear. So these are the rules. And if I click on it, you can see some writings. These writings are of Mahatma Gandhi himself. So he wrote these rules, and normally people has to follow this. And we translated into various languages, including Gujarati and Hindi, which are normal, and English, which is the international language. So there were various rules. One of them is truth, then the non-violence, and so on. On the right-hand side, you can see there is a door here. So Mehul, you can show me the door, and we can enter into the Gandhiji's room. Yeah. So this is a Gandhiji's room. This is very important. Normally, people are not allowed to enter this room because there are few things which are, here are original. There are three things you can straight away see is there is a spinning wheel, which is a very important, a tool which is used for the, our freedom, which is a symbol of, economy and the freedom movement. There are two desks you can see. These are original desks, and Gandhiji wrote lots of literature here, including his autobiography. So Gandhiji wrote his autobiography on this tool itself. Let me show you clearly. You may see many people here. I can show you the very same thing here. Yeah. So this is basically, these are the three things. And there is one more desk here, which is a desk of the, this desk was used by, by the PA of the Mahatma Gandhi. And this charkha is very important because this was originally used by himself. I can show you it really closely. Yeah, so this is the charkha, and this is a 3D version we created. I think you can see that in your screen. And this is how the charkha looks. We can really zoom in and zoom out so that you can see each and every detail. And the beauty of this is we have created, the 3D version, which is helpful. To every user, you can really 3D print this charkha. And there is a wheel here which was created by Vinoba. Vinoba was a colleague of Mahatma Gandhi, and he understood Mahatma Gandhi well, and based on his based on the philosophy that Mahatma Gandhi was followed, he created this wheel. And it is told that it is a wheel of life. So based on the Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy, you can see our entire structure is created based on it. And this is a very beautiful and very well-known, wheel, which people are normally very interested. Raki, I believe.
So Virat, I just wanted to. So this is the symbol of India. This is on the flag itself.
Yes,
and the idea was to provide livelihood for hundreds of thousands of millions of people as a as a source of livelihood, I understand.
Yeah, very true. And Rakhi, I think we are in the Mahatma Gandhi's room. You can probably show the room of the Ben Gurion from there, so that people can really compare what type of the things that Mahatma Gandhi were using and what type of things that Ben Gurion were using.
So I think even if we call Ben Gurion's room simple, it was not as simple as it's definitely a common bond, a common tie. The idea of a luxury good. There's no doubt much common tie.
Okay, so basically, yeah, there are lots of similarity. I mean, both were interested in reading, and both have habit of writing. So you can compare. There are tables or desks which both the people were people were using. So this is again a place. We are back to the Sabarmati Ashram. Basically, you can see a small gate there. So this was originally the entry gate, and when we started from the other gate, it was the backyard. So this is basically was originally used as an entry point. And when people enter into the home, there were various rooms around that. So one is the guest room on the left side. On the left side, you can see the first door, that is the normally used for the guest. The second room, there will be a door here. This door is normally used for the, it was a room of the wife of Mahatma Gandhi, Kasturba. And then on the right side, there was a storeroom, and there is a kitchen there. So that this is the kitchen. And then there was a door which was open to the backyard where we were, where the Gandhiji's room was there. So I think we can see probably Mehul, we can go to the room near the guest room, near the door of the guest room. Yeah. So on the left, you can see there's a room which was used as a guest room, and lots of important freedom fighter were stayed here, including Jawaharlal Nehru and many more personalities who were stayed in this room. And in your front, there is a chronology. There is a board which contains the chronology of the Mahatma Gandhi's life. I think I may share my screen to show you this thing virtually. Let me. So here was the room of Gandhiji, and here we are in the backyard, and these are the various rooms.
And this is where he slept. This is where he slept.
Yeah, he normally was slept in the backyard. That was, let me show you. That was this place. So this backyard is the place where normally Gandhiji slept, and this his own room, which was normally used as his office in most cases. And the backyard part was normally this was the entry gate, and normally with the entry gate in all olden in old days, the guest room was normally the first room, so that people can really stay near the entry gate. And let us go near the entry, near the guest room. I would like to show you something. It is here. This was the guest room. This was used as guest room, and this is the same thing which we were showing in the live. And this is the entire chronology. You can see when in 1869 he born, and there are important events you can see. And in 1930, there was an historic event which is commencement of the Dandi March. So Gandhiji actually, if you see in 1915, he founded the Satyagraha Ashram, and in 1917 he started in 1917 Satyagraha Ashram shifted to here. So this is Gandhiji came into Sabarmati Ashram in 1917, and in 1930 he left the ashram when he started the Dandi March. Dandi March is very historic moment. It is Salt March, which was started by Mahatma Gandhi. And when he left this ashram, he told that I will never come back to this ashram, to my home, unless and until I get an independence. So the third column you can see here on the last is the age column. And when you see when he came to Sabarmati Ashram, his age was 48. And when he started the historic Salt March, he was the age of 61. So normally at the age of 61, normal people will think of, the retirement, but Gandhiji started a very historic movement against the British Empire at the age of 61. And he started walking from this place, from Sabarmati Ashram, to the place which is called Dandi, which is a seashore, where he lifted the salt at the seashore, and which is 384 kilometers from Sabarmati Ashram. And Mahatma Gandhi took a longer route rather than a shorter route, because when Gandhiji started walking, it was really a difficult moment for the British Empire, because when he was walking, a huge crowd followed him, and British Empire was in a dilemma whether to arrest him or not. So he intentionally took a longer route even at the age of 61. So that is something which shook the British Empire, and that is why it was called very historic movement. Now back to the I think live video. Mehul, you can see show the Kasturba's room probably.
I just wanted to add, Virat, just wanted to add that Ben Gurion was also in his mid-60s when actually the state was declared. He was born in 1886. So there's a slight comparison. I can see the photograph of the picture of Gandhi's wife, and I'm going into Paula's room so that you can see the room of David Ben Gurion's wife, Paula Ben Gurion. Slightly different. I heard that she passed away in imprisonment when she was in prison.
Okay.
Gandhi's wife. What happened to her?
Yeah, so Gandhiji's wife normally lived with Gandhiji, and Gandhiji told that she is one of his strength, because in many moments she helped Gandhiji, and one of the important movement was the women empowerment. So so we can enter into the room, and you can see there were few things originally were here. One bed was here, but normally the room was very simple. Mehul may show to the crowd. So this was the as I would like to compare something here. So basically, both the important leader had a separate room for her wife. So which was very, it is even in the today's world, we normally do not have a separate room for wife, but in those days both the leader had a separate room, kept a separate room for her wife, which is very very similar in both the leaders. Yeah. Over to you, Esther.
Can you show us the room? We can't actually see it at the moment.
Okay. So Mehul, can you show the room? Yeah. So there is no much accessory here. In fact, there was a cot here, but which was removed later on due to wear and tear. But this is how the room was looking. Yeah.
We still can't see it.
Okay, let me show you just a sec.
Okay.
Okay. So can you see now? Yeah.
Yes, now we can see.
Yeah.
So this was the actual room.
Yeah, this is the actual room, the exact flow. There was only a cot here, which was broken later on and was removed. But all the things you can see are as it is. There were very less accessories. So Gandhiji and Kasturba was following very simple life. So there was not much things here. So yeah, this was the Kasturba's room. Her wife's room.
Thank you. Thank you. Could we see the kitchen of the...
I can really enter. I think, Mehul, you can show it in the live environment. Can you see that?
Not yet. Okay. Apparently it can be seen, so it's just me. Okay. Apologize.
Okay.
So
so we will enter into the kitchen now. Mehul, can you go to the kitchen? Okay, so okay, now we are near in the kitchen. Yeah, we are in the kitchen now. And yeah, Mehul, you can stop here. This is a place where, which is normally you will find in every kitchen of the India. There is a special place where normally, people put a water pot there. So this is the same place, and you can show you, Mehul, you can show the other part, the things that Gandhiji was using. Yeah, so there are two cupboard you can see here. On the left, there is a stick and the other things. I will show you in clear form. And on the right side, there are other accessories that, Gandhiji were using. Let me show you it in a clear form. Yeah, so this is the exact same place. This is the kitchen. And yeah, there are various accessories you can see here that Gandhiji was using. Surprisingly, a fork and there was, spoons here. So Gandhiji, in his young age, he studied in Britain. And Gandhiji followed lots of habits which normal Britisher were, following. So one of the habit that Gandhiji liked was using fork and spoon. So he liked that habit so much, so that, Gandhiji followed that habit using spoon and fork for eating during his entire life. So Gandhiji followed that tradition of using fork and spoon in his entire life, even in India and even in South Africa, where he spent about 20 years. And you can see there is a there are specs, and there is a small a monument which a Buddhist monk gave him. It's a very famous three monkey thing which Gandhiji kept with him his entire life. And on the other side, there are few things you can see. There is a stick which originally was a straight, but it was bent due to wear and tear. But this is the same, original stick which he used. And there was a small spinning wheel which was, gifted to him by someone. And there are two, pot which were used to carry his ashes after his death, which are also important to us. So we kept it here. So, you know, this was the kitchen. I wish, Esther, you can show the kitchen of the Ben Gurion. That would be interesting to the people who are seeing this tour.
So as we speak, I showed Ben Gurion's kitchen. It's actually quite a luxury kitchen by kibbutz standards. It had an oven, it had pots, it had two sinks, it had a fridge. Think about it, it's the 1950s, 1960s. So that's quite a luxury item. And there's also a blender where Paula, Ben Gurion's wife, used to make him like a smoothie every day for his health. Even though there was a communal dining room, they still also ate here. This is actually one of my favorite rooms. It actually has in Hebrew the recipe for the smoothie, and it also has a list of all Ben Gurion's medicines and what he used to eat, because Paula was originally a nurse. So she was very strict about his nutrition, very strict about what he ate. So this I really like this room. A lot of people visiting here say that it reminds them of their grandparents' room. And I'd like to ask you, Virat, which is your favorite, as somebody who's been working at Sabarmati Ashram, which room or which aspect? I can see Pratima actually working on the spinning wheel. Which room or which object is the closest to you? What's your favorite?
Yeah, so I mean the Pratima Ben and I think is it visible?
They were working on the spinning wheel. I could see it.
Yeah, they are working. Yeah, they are working in on the spinning wheel. So this is very important tool, and Gandhiji used as a weapon against the Britisher. So it was the entire movement was, the non-violent movement. But this was one of the very simple thing, which was a day-to-day, item of those days, which you will find in every people using for their livelihood. And Gandhiji took, Gandhiji selected it as a weapon so that it can represent, each and every person who are living in India. I think Pratima Ben can probably show us how that spinning wheel is working. Pratima Ben, over to you. You can probably explain. I think there are two versions. Mehul, you can show the two versions at the same time. See, there are two versions you can see here. One is, Mehul, can you show the other version also? Yeah, this one is the bigger version, which normally a very famous spinning wheel. But there is but there is a problem. You cannot carry it while you are traveling. So there were lots of innovation happened in the spinning wheel in those days. In fact, Gandhiji announced a 1 lakh rupee prize in those days, which is a huge, prize money even today, if you convert it. But Gandhiji has introduced, announced a very huge prize to make some innovation in the spinning wheel, so that people can produce more out of the same spinning wheel. The other spinning wheel that you can see is a smaller one. It is called a peti charkha in Gujarati. It's basically a portable spinning wheel, just like our laptop. There are two type of computer we are using. One is a desktop computer, which you cannot carry while traveling, and the other thing is a laptop, which you can really carry if you want to carry it with while traveling. So the other charkha, which is a portable charkha, can be used as a is a portable. You can really close it, and that charkha can be used even if you are traveling in a train or somewhere else. So I think Mehul, you can show the charkha I mean, that Pratima Ben is using. Pratima Ben, over to you. You can explain a few things about the charkha. Yeah, I think she need to unmute.
I just put the thread on the cotton.
Mehul, can you show it properly? Yes.
Wow, that's that's very interesting. Very interesting.
So in her one hand, there was a cotton, the raw cotton she can show you. And yeah, she's just, you know, taking that cotton along with the thread, and she is, you know, on the other hand, she is rotating the wheel, and you will see that a thread will come out from the cotton. See, the thread is coming out, and she is now, you know, collecting it in the wheel. So see, the other thread is coming out of the cotton, and then at last she will collect. Yeah, she is twisting it just to make the thread stronger, and now she is collecting it. So, you know, this is how a raw cotton is converted into the thread, and now the same thread will go to the next process where you know, people will weave a cloth using this thread, using hand you know, hand woven machines, and then they, you know, they do printing, and they do, you know, dyeing the cloth, and then it will come to us. The clothes that Pratima Ben has wearing right now is made up of, you know, of the same, you know, khadi. So the entire process, you know, consists of various tasks, and ultimately a fresh new cloth will come out, and that was a very important, you know, tool of the for the earnings and livelihood in those days. I think Esther, you can mention something here on the what Ben Gurion has told about the economy and what other things he was doing.
Right. So thank you, Pratima. It's always nice to work with you, and it's fascinating. And Virat, I would still like you to tell me which is your favorite place in the ashram. But in the meantime, I will just show visitors here as well, but also visitors in India. This was Ben Gurion's library, his workroom. This is where he sat and thought about economy, and he thought about education. There are 5,000 books here. There are books on Buddhism. There are books on different cultures, different religions. He was fascinated by Eastern culture. This is a picture of him actually when he was actually working here. So you can actually see that. And Ben Gurion also had to deal with issues of economy. Hundreds of thousands of new immigrants came between 1948 to 1952. And the big question was how to provide them with housing, how to provide them with jobs. As I said, he came here in 1953. And one of the ideas that he implemented was to create public works, to take new immigrants living in Israel and to work as building roads, building houses, building infrastructure. And this was a way to create jobs and also to boost the economy. Textile industries were also built in places like Dimona, which is a town not far from here, where new immigrants worked in the textile factory. So we're talking about public works, building roads, industry, heavy industry, which of course has changed. You're celebrating 75 years of independence. So Israel is also pretty close to that, 74 years. And we would say that there's also been many changes over the years as far as the heavy industry moving onto different industries, high tech, biotech. The industries still exist, of course. The heavy industries still exist, but as you probably know, things things are changing. So we're here in the desert. We're going to sum up because we only have a few minutes left. And perhaps you could just show me your favorite place or a certain object, which is for you, which is something special. Mine, as I said, mine was also the kitchen, but also there's a telephone here, which perhaps some of the younger people don't really know what this is, but this is a telephone which I grew up with, and Ben-Gurion hated the telephone. So that's one of my favorite objects. Tell me about yours.
Yeah, I really love the charkha, the spinning wheel, which is in the Gandhiji's room. But yeah, I also like one of the place. Let me show you that place. So we'll go out and yeah. So this is basically his room, and we'll move out. And there is a place you can see here is a prayer place. The beauty of this place, sorry. Yeah, this is the prayer place. The beauty of this place is, this is where Gandhiji and other people were praying. You can see there is a normal sand. There is nothing, there is no structure here, and there are no walls. So Gandhiji, used to tell that if we want to pray to God, there is no need of walls. So there is no wall. In fact, Gandhiji established many ashrams around across India, and there is no single place where there are walls at the prayer place. So this is the structure which I really love, and the philosophy behind that. Mehul, I think you can show it in the live mode, probably. So I think
I just wanted to add, thank you for that. As a religious person, a religious woman, I think the idea of having a prayer area where there are no boundaries and no walls is especially relevant to me. So I think this is very also special. The idea that everyone is equal and everyone can pray in their own way. This is also special. We also saw the river in the background.
Yeah, I think Mehul, you can show the live river. That is the last thing I would like to show here. Basically, the ashram is called Sabarmati Ashram. And why it is called Sabarmati Ashram? Because there is a river which is passed by the ashram. In fact, ashram is at the bank of the river Sabarmati, and this is the same place. Mehul will show you in the live environment. So this is the same Sabarmati river, which you can show here. And this is newly built. The steps you can see here are newly built because originally it was a raw structure. There was a sand here, and people can really walk to the river by themselves. I can show you it in a more clearer way. So this is what the river is at the moment, and these are the steps, and you can see this is how it looks right now. So I think as the one more thing we may probably compare here. I see a very great statue of sculpture of Ben-Gurion there, and I really love that that pose of the Ben-Gurion. And we have something similar here of Mahatma Gandhi, and probably you can show that statue of Ben-Gurion, which is really, I think people would love to see that that sculpture.
As we speak, I'm doing it. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for that. I wanted to add that Ilana Shizol just wrote on chat about the generation, the Jews of India who came to live here, and this is who came to live in Israel, and this is a whole discussion within itself. And hopefully next time perhaps we will concentrate on the Bnei Israel, the Indian Jews who came to live in Israel and the second generation. I think this is enough for another talk separately. So thank you, Ilana, for that. And as you asked, I'm showing you as you were speaking, I was showing different objects that Ben-Gurion received, but this is the, as you have the famous sitting position of Gandhiji. We have Ben-Gurion standing on his head. Ben-Gurion for medical reasons, but also it helped him concentrate. Dr. Feldenkrais told him to stand on his head every day for a number of minutes, and he did it every day. And what we say is that not only did Ben-Gurion stand on his head physically, but he also stood on his head metaphorically. You know, as a leader, he always thought out of the box and how he could solve issues in a different way than the average person. So this statue is here next to his home. I can see the statue of Gandhi, which is a very, I think if most people, you know, remember this is the most, let's say, popular or famous position that we see as Gandhi, either walking with his rod or sitting, you know, cross-legged on the floor. This is his position. If there are any questions by chat, we'd be happy to answer. This has been, I hope it's been interesting to you on the anniversary, on the commemoration of the Independence Day of the Republic of India, today, August 15th. We hope to have more, perhaps on different subjects, on more focused topics. And if there are any questions, this is your time before we say goodbye. I just have to say that in Israel, Independence Day is also celebrated by visiting museums, having fireworks sometimes, probably having a barbecue. Maybe this is less widespread in India. How do you celebrate Independence Day there?
So we normally start with the flag hosting. So people, I mean, students in all the schools and colleges normally to go for flag hosting, and they normally, you know, have sweet and they move around to the various public places, including museums. So that is how people celebrate it. We have a, you know, spatial mood. Our people have a spatial mood on that day, on Independence Day. It is, you know, people normally are in a different mood. So that is how we celebrate. We of course have a sweets and all type of different things in our, you know, lunch and dinner. So I wish people can ask something, I mean, about this Sabarmati Ashram or Mahatma Gandhi and Ben-Gurion and his home. We would love to answer that.
That's just. So I see Ilana again writing about the activists of B'nai Israel from India. I think this is a subject that we should take up. We will take up in a special session. I have much to learn about it, and I think everyone can learn about it. It's an important part of history, hasn't been highlighted in the past. And I think the connections between Ben-Gurion's home and the embassy and Sabarmati Ashram can definitely be a focal point there. Anything else, Raki? Would you like to add anything before we switch off?
No. Thank you. It was really a wonderful tour. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And during our, when we discussed together, we are going to really share the happiness and how well it went. And thank you to the tour operators and the narrators.
Thank you. There was just a question whether there was correspondence. We haven't found correspondence. There was correspondence between, we have detailed correspondence between Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, and David Ben-Gurion. I think there was perhaps one letter which was not replied to, but a lot is written in his diary about an admiration of Gandhi. But the correspondence between the two leaders we did not find. So that's an answer to that question.
In the next tour, we can also share a few books on India-Israel, the titles of a few books on India-Israel relations that cover the history of relations also.
Yeah. In fact, I would like to share something. Gandhiji's autobiography. I mean, someone in the Israel has translated Gandhiji's autobiography in Hebrew.
That's correct.
So, I mean, yeah. So it will be, there is a great interest from their side also. So, yeah, I appreciate.
So the autobiography of Gandhi is now in Hebrew, or it's been translated into Hebrew?
It is translated into Hebrew, so it is available. It is with us. I think I should send one copy to you. I will do that.
Thank you very much. So thank you again, Raki. Thank you again, Virat, and to all your team. To Ronit here, who has helped us behind the scenes and on the scenes. Thank you to Pratima, to Lata, to all your staff in Sabarmati Ashram. We hope that you've enjoyed it. You've enjoyed this tour. We hope to do more. As Ilana said, we'll hope to focus on on more specific subjects. And we look forward, and we take this opportunity to say Happy Independence Day, or in Hebrew, Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach. And perhaps we'll do the same on our Independence Day, and we'll have a similar tour. So stay tuned on our Facebook page, and we hope to have more similar tours. Thank you again. Happy Independence Day.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Ronit. Thank you, Raki, for your special efforts. And on our side, Jenny and Mehul are working on the back end. They were helping us during the entire tour. And thanks, Pratima Ben and Lata Ben. Thank you all.
Thank you, and thank you to Gilad and Ofra, who are also behind the scenes making this happen. And with all the difficulties and challenges of Corona, of COVID-19, this has been something good, which has come out of a good cooperation, which has come out of a difficult time. So thank you again, Gilad, Ofra, Ronit, everybody, and happy Independence Day. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Independence Day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.